Now let's take a look at the descriptions of the scarlet beast. The beast that you saw was and is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss and go to destruction. The beast is about to come up out of the abyss. We have read this phrase, come up out of the abyss, before in Revelation 11:7. When the two witnesses have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the abyss will make war with them and overcome them and kill them, thus identifying the scarlet beast as the one who killed the two witnesses. The beast is also described as was, is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss. According to Romans 10:7, the abyss is the place of the dead. So when the angel described the scarlet beast as coming out of the abyss, he meant that the beast was dead and now come to life. This apparently identifies it with the beast from the sea, because in chapter 13 verse 3 we read, one of his head as if it had been slain, and his mortal wound was healed. The beast who had the wound of the sword has come to life. This is an imitation of the resurrection of Christ. The scarlet beast was, is not, that is, it died, and is about to come up out of the abyss. It revived, and its destiny is its own destruction. The beast from the sea, one of his head as if slain, that is, it died. Its fatal wound was healed, it revived. All these are imitation of Christ, who is, who was, and who is to come, the Almighty. Let's compare the beast from the sea with the scarlet beast. Both have 7 heads, and they are full of blasphemous names. Both have 10 horns. The beast from the sea has 10 diadems on its horns. Diadem represents ruling authority. We will see later that the scarlet beast will receive ruling authority and power from 10 kings. Both are apparently dead and subsequently revived. We have seen that the beast from the sea is the world ruler in the end times, and we will see that the scarlet beast will be the 8th king of the last kingdom before the return of Christ. All this to show that the scarlet beast and the beast from the sea is one and the same beast. One more piece of evidence to tie these two beasts together. When the mortal wound of the beast from the sea was healed, the whole earth was amazed, and all who dwell on the earth will worship him, everyone whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life. When all those who dwell on the earth saw the scarlet beast, who was and is not, and who will come up out of the abyss, they will wonder. Those who dwell on the earth, whose name has not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, will wonder, amazed, exactly like the response to the beast from the sea. The book of Revelation mentions many beasts. Chapter 11, the beast from the abyss. Chapter 13, the beast from the sea. Chapter 17, the scarlet beast. We have shown through the almost exact descriptions of the scarlet beast and the beast from the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and full of blasphemous names, that they are the same beast. The scarlet beast, who is about to come up out of the abyss, identifies it as the beast that killed the 2 witnesses in Revelation 11. Coming out of the abyss is symbolic of revival from the dead. The revival of the beast from the sea, who was mortally wounded, connects it with the beast from the abyss, and thus connecting all 3 as one and the same beast. There is one more beast. The beast from the land tells all those who live on the earth to worship the first beast, whose fatal wound was healed, and he even causes an image to the beast to be made. As mentioned, the scarlet beast is identified with the beast from the abyss, chapter 11, and the beast from the sea, chapter 13. So we have two beasts, the beast from the sea and the beast from the land. And this is confirmed by Revelation 19:20. And the beast was seized, and with him the false prophet. These two were thrown alive into the lake of fire. Note that these two are known as the beast and the false prophet. The latter is also known as the beast from the land. So there is only one beast and his false prophet. The beast from the abyss, the beast from the sea, and the scarlet beast is one and the same, and that beast is the Antichrist. Let's try to identify the scarlet beast. Chapter 17, verse 9. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and there are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must remain a little while. The angels say the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and goes on to say, and there are 7 kings, that is, rulers over 7 kingdoms. The mountains then are not heaps of rocks and earth, but empires. The term mountain is commonly used symbolically in scripture as an image of a kingdom. King Nebuchadnezzar dreamt of a great statue, but none of his people could interpret it. The head of gold, according to Daniel's interpretation, represented Babylon and the Babylonian Empire, headed by King Nebuchadnezzar. The breast and arms of the statue, made of silver, symbolized the next kingdom, which Daniel later identified as Medo-Persia, Daniel chapter 8. The third empire, represented by the lower part of the body and the thighs, which were of brass, is also later identified as Greece. The fourth empire was portrayed as legs of iron. This kingdom is not named in Daniel. The normal interpretation identifies the fourth kingdom as the Roman Empire. The 2 iron legs portray the eastern and western divisions of the late Roman Empire. The final world empire, feet and toes of iron and clay, shares the element of iron with the previous empire of iron legs. This suggests a connection to Rome. Therefore, the 10 toes could imply a Roman confederacy. Since the Roman Empire is no longer existing since the 5th century, we would expect it to be revived in order to fulfill end times prophecy. A stone cut out without hands struck the statue on his feet of iron and clay and crushed them, and the wind carried them away so that not a trace of them was found. But the stone became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. The stone that struck the statue and grew into a great mountain or kingdom is a physical kingdom that Christ will set up when he returns to earth. In verse 44 of Daniel chapter 2, it says, "In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which will never be destroyed, and that kingdom will not be left for another people. It will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms, but it will itself endure forever." With this background of Daniel, we will interpret the 7 heads and all 7 kings. The 7 heads look at the past, present, and future history of the beast. 5 heads have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. The kingdom that is existing in John's day is the Roman Empire. The 5 most prominent world powers preceding Rome that had fallen are probably Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, and Greece. There will be a future seventh kingdom yet to come, and the reign of this kingdom will be brief. Now, according to the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, it would be the kingdom of the feet and toes of iron and clay, a 10-nation confederacy out of the revived Roman Empire. Revelation 17:11. The beast which was and is not is himself also an eighth, and is one of the seven, and he goes to destruction. We are told that the beast belongs to one of the seven kingdoms. But which one of the seven kingdoms? The beast is future, and there is only one future kingdom, that is, the seventh kingdom of 10 nations. This is my paraphrase of Revelation 17:11. The scarlet beast is the seventh kingdom of 10 nations, but when he dies and then revives, he becomes the eighth, and it is at that point that he is on his way to destruction. Let me explain. The seventh kingdom is the revived Roman Empire made up of 10 nations. So how can the beast be that kingdom? We are told in the next verse that these 10 nations, together with the beast, receive authority to rule, suggesting that the beast is one of these 10 nations. In other words, the scarlet beast is part of the seventh kingdom of 10 nations. The Antichrist goes through the first part of the tribulation as a great leader, but is mortally wounded. He is revived, comes back, and kills the two witnesses, and the whole world adore him. The 10 nations surrender their power and authority to the beast, and now he's more than a great leader. He is the eighth king over the 10-nation confederacy, as well as all the other nations who now worship him. But the beast kingdom will be destroyed when Christ comes to set up his messianic kingdom. Remember the stone that struck the statue at its feet of iron and clay and crushed them? Now let's try to identify the 10 horns. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings which have not yet received a kingdom, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. The 10 horns is a reference to the 10-nation confederation of the future 7th kingdom, which will subsequently form the nucleus of the beast kingdom. They receive authority with the beast means that the beast will probably be one of the kings, or certainly one who will rise up from one of the 10 nations to take control and become the head of this confederation. Earlier, we are told that 5 kingdoms had fallen, and one is, which is the Roman Empire. In Revelation 17:10, we are told that the 7th head is a kingdom yet to come, a future kingdom, and its reign will be brief. In verse 12, we see the same identical characteristic, 10 horns or 10 kings who have not yet risen to power, and their reigns will be for 1 hour, that is, for a brief moment. This clearly identifies the confederacy of 10 kings as the 7th kingdom. Therefore, it would be better to draw all the 10 horns on one head, that is, the 7th head. Seven heads versus 10 horns. What's the difference? The 7 heads are successive kingdoms. They rule one after another. First Egypt, then Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, then Greece, Rome, and then the 7th kingdom of 10 horns. The 10 horns are simultaneous kings who rule at the same time. That means they do not rule one after another. At the time of writing of the book of Revelation, these 10 kings have not yet received a kingdom. They have not begun to rule. The 7th kingdom of 10 horns is a future kingdom. These 10 kings have one purpose, and they give their power and authority to the beast. The 10 kings are of one mind to hand over their power and authority to the beast. Probably amazed by its revival from its seemingly mortal wound, they gave their kingdoms over to the beast, who then assumed worldwide control to become the 8th and final kingdom before Christ returns. For God has put it in their hearts to execute His purpose by having a common purpose and by giving their kingdom to the beast until the words of God will be fulfilled. The 10 kings were acting on their wisdom and from their own will when they surrendered their authority and power to the beast. In reality, they are instruments in God's hand to carry out God's purpose and plans. God is in control. What is this 7th empire? The coalition of 10 kings. Scriptures do not identify these nations. Many believe these 10 nations will come out of the Roman Empire. This is a map of the Roman Empire, which includes Rome, countries in Northern Africa, Western Asia, and Southern Europe. This is a modern map of the same region. Your guess as to which these 10 nations may be is as good as mine. These 10 nations will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them because He is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. The harlot sitting on the scarlet beast, full of blasphemous names, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The great harlot is able to ride on the beast because the beast sees this to be to his advantage. Throughout history, political systems have used religious bodies to further their political causes. The situation described here is in the first half of the tribulation, before the beast assumed all power and demanded that the world should worship him. In the beginning of the second half of the tribulation, the beast recovered from his mortal wound and received praise and worship from the world. He therefore no longer needs the help and influence of the harlot. And the 10 horns and the beast will hate the harlot and will make her desolate and naked, and will eat her flesh and will burn her up with fire. Babylon's future is similar to Israel's history when God judged her for being unfaithful to the covenant with Him. So I will gather your lovers against you from every direction, and they will tear down your shrines, demolish your high places, strip you of your clothing, and take away your jewels, and leave you naked and bare. The beast and the 10 horns turn on Babylon, also known as Jerusalem, stop all sacrifices, and destroy her religious leaders. Babylon the Great, as detailed in Revelation 17, happens in the first half of the tribulation. The beast then assumes control of the literal city of Jerusalem and reigns from the middle of the tribulation for 42 months. This is a probable scenario around the middle of the 70th week. Around the middle of the tribulation, Satan will be cast out of heaven. He will offer the kingdoms of the world to the beast and will empower him. The beast's death and revival, followed by his killing of the 2 witnesses, will bring about wonder and worship. 10 kings will give their authority to the beast. Together they will turn on the harlot and destroy her and put a stop to Jewish temple sacrifices. The false prophet will set up a religious system of worship of the beast as God and an economic system of buying and selling with the mark of the beast.